you're probably walking wrong. And if you are, it's not only making you less attractive, but it's also impeding your brain function. So let's get right into it. So firstly, basically humans evolved to be walking. Like if you look at most other like primates, the way they walk, they can do jumping or they walk on four legs. Like we're pretty unique in that we're bipedal, meaning we walk on 2 feet. And the way we walk is also like much more advanced compared to pretty much every other species. So for example, like the way we walk, we have like elastic energy. So our midfoot kind of stiffens up and then arches and springs up, giving us that spring in our step, and the long Achilles tendon, which is the tendon on the back of the leg here, so behind this, which is what gives you that explosive jump, like what sprinters have. Also, obviously, humans compared to like an ape, you have longer legs, upright posture, which increases stride length. So that means you have less energy per unit distance. Your walking is driven by your glute muscles, whereas monkeys it's more driven by their hip flexors, like the front of their legs here. And also, we have a way better cooling mechanism. And so, basically, why this is all important is because it implies we were designed for long distance walking, evolutionary, and even our hunting methods reflected that. Basically, humans engaged in this thing called persistence hunting, which basically means that, you can read this. I'm just going to paraphrase it. Basically, you'd have a group of hunters chasing an animal over many, many hours. And because we have energy that sustains it, because our body is made to have much more endurance, we're able to chase them down slowly. And because we can sweat, whereas they can only pant or whatever, we would be able to catch them eventually. Because obviously, if you think about it, humans are not faster than pretty much every single animal. The slow ones can usually fly away or hide or whatever. So the way we would catch them was all because of our endurance and our persistence and our cooling mechanism. So literally our walking helped us get ahead and helped us get to the top of the food chain. And so obviously the foot evolved literally as a sensory organ. It made to grip terrain, and walking can actually shape your entire bone structure, and it did evolutionarily. That's why we have a different structure to that of like a monkey or whatever. And the most important thing is we didn't evolve to walk on concrete in padded sneakers, right? But that's how everyone's walking today. And so we'll get into why that's an issue. But first, we'll just really break down what correct walking is. This is like a very autistic guide. So walking is like four main parts. There's the heel strike, the midfoot loading, the big toe lift off, and the arm swing, right? Pretty straightforward. And you can see by the pictures. So basically, your heel is coming down. It's not aggressive, but it's not like you're just lightly on the heel, then you're swinging forward and pushing off. That's how most people walk. Again, you can read these little dot points. Obviously, the foot tripod, that basically, imagine this is my foot. It's referring to the big toe, the pinky toe, and the base of the foot, all engaging as like one big thing by giving you lots of balance, right? And the arch also compresses slightly. You can see this is called the windlass mechanism. And so the arch height actually increases and it brings up tension in this middle part of the foot here, which acts as like a sort of lever to propel you forward. Hallux extension just means your big toe extends, your glutes drive your extension, and then your arm swings relative to your foot. You extend your spine, your neck is neutral, and yeah, you have an elastic walk. It's not heavy, and it's glute dominant, right? That's how the normal walk should be. And so the big thing which most people suffer for is like modern shoes. So you can look at this is how an ancestral foot looked like, or like a pre-modern shoe foot. You can see it's very like spread out. It's got a massive like toe box. Whereas wearing modern shoes, feet are compressed. Like if you look at your own foot, you can probably see your toes like pushed into each other and have little indents in them because of the modern shoes that you wear. And so the major issues of this is firstly, you have elevated heel on shoes, which actually causes anterior pelvic tilt, and 85% of males have this condition. Apart from that, yeah, the narrow toe box, which compresses your toes, it weakens your balance. The arch support gives you weakness in your foot because your foot already has built-in support, but when you support the arch artificially, you reduces your foot's actual ability to support itself. Then you have the thick sole, which again you get reduced sensory input because your foot can't actually feel what it's walking on. and you have reduced ankle mobility because the shoe is like rigidly holding your ankle. It's not allowing your ankle to like mold around the ground. And so yeah, this will cause your walking to have altered gait pattern, which is a walking pattern, reduced glute activation, and poor proprioception. So you can't feel the ground properly. So it's basically acting like a cast for your feet. You can't feel the ground, which causes an unstable base, and that causes a bunch of postural issues all up the chain. So if you like chronically rely on rigid footwear, you can really impair your natural development of your walking. And so this is where all hell breaks loose. So it starts off with foot dysfunction, and then you can cause things like tibial rotation or duck feet, where the feet point outwards away from the body, which then puts stress on the knees because they're rotated, which then causes hip instability, pelvic tilt, lumbar compression. So this is like the area of your spine, that's your lumbar, which then causes the forward head posture, which can cause a bunch of issues, including lordosis, loss of cervical lordosis, and kyphosis, which, without going into it, it's pretty much just like a bunch of negative damage to your spine and your neck. And it also makes you look much uglier, obviously. It reduces your head's ability to grow forwardly properly. It impacts your breathing. There's plenty of issues. And if you think about it logically, like the body's a building, it stacks from the ground up. And if the foundation is weak, the entire structure will collapse and develop poorly. And so walking will actually influence the long-term bone loading patterns. Because if your head's always like this, your spine's going to begin to develop like that. And you're going to have a really unattractive and unhealthy posture long-term. And so if you've heard of Wolff's Law, it's basically the logic that a bone will adapt to tension. And it will cause density at the points of stress. So again, if this is a point of stress, you're going to have a weird little hump on the back of your neck and on the back of your back where there's a lot of tension and stress, and also down here, which again is just not very attractive and again can cause health issues. There's also, yeah, bone density is influenced by ground reaction forces. So when you're walking on the ground, your foot absorbs that and increases density. When you're wearing a padded sneaker, your foot bone density won't feel it, so it won't increase its density, making it more frail and weak. And then mechanotransduction is when, excuse me, my throat's really dry, is when cells convert mechanical stimuli into chemical response. So basically, you'll feel the ground and you'll make a chemical response. And yeah, what the fuck is going on with my voice? All right, you can see defects in mechanotransduction are implicated in the development of a wide array of diseases. Muscular dystrophies, cardiomyopathies, cancer, etc. So it's actually like a really significant health problem if you have poor mechanotransduction. And obviously, if you have a big padded sole, you're reducing the physical impact, you're reducing the stimuli, which reduces the mechanotransduction. And yet, loads when you're walking barefoot or with a reduced big heel can promote tissue health in bone, cartilage, etc. So it's very important. So next we'll look at the blood flow and brain effects. So if you have like a normal rhythmic walking pattern, you can have improved blood flow in your brain, increased nitric oxide, which improves nutrient deficiency, lymphatic movement, so basically reduces like buildup of fluid in your limbs, and improves your immune health. The cross crawl pattern, which is basically when you walk, like when your right foot swings forward at the same time as your left arm swings forward, it's like opposite arm to opposite leg. It helps integrate your two brain hemispheres to working together. And you can stimulate your vestibules, which is in your inner ear. It's basically the system that tells you if you're upright or upside down. Like there's little fluid in the side of your ear. And so when you close your eyes, it helps you stay balanced, because without seeing things, your body can sense if you're in balance or not based on what happens with the fluid, which has all of these ramifications. And yeah, this study shows that a brain blood flow is actually dynamic and depends on pressure that pulses from foot impact. So again, if your foot feels the impacts of the ground, you have much better brain blood flow than if it doesn't, right? Which may optimize your brain perfusion, function, and sense of well-being. And so natural terrain walking increases sensory input, but And barefoot walking will increase your proprioceptive signaling. Whereas in the modern world, sitting like this with artificial light, low movement, you just get impaired circulation, sympathetic dominance. And so walking naturally actually will recalibrate your nervous system. It will literally give you a rest and a reset from the modern world, which is a super big positive. So next we're just going to look at like shoe options. So barefoot is usually the best. You get maximum sensory input. You get strong muscles intrinsically, but it does require some relearning because you're probably going to be walking wrong if you're used to these man-made shoes with the weird cushioning and whatnot. Minimal shoes like barefoot shoes, I have a pair of these. They're quite good. They allow your the toe splay, flexible sole. The best thing I think is they're protecting from unsafe terrain because obviously barefoot is fine on like grass or sand or whatever. But if you're walking around the city where there could be like broken glass or whatever, barefoot is quite damaging or quite risky. And yet traditional shoes, you can see there's much more reduced feedback. You have the elevated heel, the arch support, the gel cushioning. It's just so cushioned and artificial that you get none of the benefits. So ideally, you're going as barefoot as possible, but you can potentially go barefoot in some terrains and then wear barefoot shoes in others, or just find what's comfortable. So once again, the modern environment is just to blame again for another deficiency of our species, which is kind of a bit sad because it's literally to blame for everything else: chronic disease, being unattractive, lifespan issues, cancer, etc. But it's also now the combination of hard concrete floors, cramped shoes, padded shoes, weak feet, elevated heels, poor posture, just links to chronic pain, reduced circulation, terrible, unattractive posture. Like you can literally say this guy goes up like by 1 point if you want to use like an autistic ranking system of attractiveness just from here to here. And that wouldn't even be far-fetched, right? Like we didn't evolve to sit down all day and then go exercise in the gym. We evolved to move constantly at low intensity. We don't need super high stress intensity, and we don't need zero sitting around. As we demonstrated up here, we're literally made for long distance walking. We're made for endurance. That's what we're meant for. And too many people will just be sitting down the whole day and then go for a little bit of exercise and think that's normal. So, how to fix it? So, you want to strengthen your intrinsic foot muscles. You can do things like short foot exercise. You can search it up on YouTube. Toe spaces, it's like these. You like shove them between your toes, like increase your toe box. Obviously, the older you are, the harder it is to fix it, but there's still potentially progress depending on if you're under 25. Gradual barefoot exposure. So you can start off just like sitting down, have your foot barefoot, and walk a little bit, walk around grass and sand first, and then move on to more rougher surfaces. Focus on pushing off with your big toe. And this was an image of the intrinsic foot muscle, so short foot exercise. You can see the transformation. It becomes much more arched, which is obviously a good thing. And yeah, just don't rush it. You can really slow down your walking speed to retrain the pattern, and that will make sure you don't relearn a different wrong pattern and you actually learn a correct way of walking, which is obviously the goal. So yeah, if this was helpful, that's great. I'm happy for you. Just focus on walking properly, and if you're still young, the results will manifest in a really good way, and you'll see an improvement in health and attractiveness. So thanks for watching. If you're still watching, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.